Thanks for listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast brought to you by DraftKings. Great deal going on right now in the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Throw down $1 on an NFL game. Excuse me. And if either team scores, $100 in free plays. It's that simple. It's that easy. New customers only. Make it happen. Joined now by the voice of the women's basketball team, Mr. Brody Dryden. You can follow Brody on Twitter at Coyote Brody. Or, you know what, you can wait for his weekly appearance here, whichever you prefer. It's really that simple. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be back. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Yeah, just got my COVID booster, so little off keel here for a second, but I'm good.
I'll help you through this one, Mike.
All right, appreciate you, dude. All right, Arizona top 5 ranking right now for the first time in school history comes in at number 4. What's really remarkable about this for me is that there was all these questions about, is Aari McDonald, is this kind of like a one-trick pony here? Are you going to basically, when she falls off or when she leaves, what's Arizona going to be? And I think you saw a little bit of respect, kind of the high 20s ranking, whatnot going into the season. But Adia Barnes and her women have served notice, Brody, that this team isn't going anywhere and that this is a program at this point.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think in the beginning of the season, the preseason ranking of number 22 was just a chip on the shoulder for all the players, because they kind of knew that they were one of the best teams in the country still. And, despite going to the national championship, and you can't blame some voters, they didn't know how this team would operate without Aari McDonald. But, kind of starting that low and being able to work their way up, it's still so early in the season. We haven't gotten to Pac-12 play yet and stuff. So already getting to number 4 in the polls is pretty great for this team. There's a lot of competition coming up this weekend. Texas on Sunday, after going to NAU for the Friday game. So it's just been a great season so far. It's been weird not, needing to call a loss on the radio yet. It's been right. I've kind of been spoiled in that respect, but it's really.
Are you the common denominator here, Brody?
I think so. Yeah, I think I'm really the X factor for this team, and if I wasn't there, who knows how many losses they would have. I really bring it all together each and every game day. So
does Adia ever talk to you and say, Brody, like I was really a little nervous about the trajectory of the program, but since you've come here, we're undefeated?
Yeah, no, she tells me that all the time, and that I really am, uplifting and really the X factor for this team. No, not at all. But yeah.
All right, let me ask you. All right, so let me ask you this. Going into the season, you talked about how, it was understandable that, voters might not be super high on the team because, what's there really to expect? Sure, you got Sam Thomas coming back, all defensive, all everything. You've got some players like Cate Reese. You certainly got a Lauren Ware. You got some size. Shayna Pellington at the guard position certainly showed some ability in the NCAA tournament. But what did your gut tell you? Just kind of, being behind the scenes, watching them. Did you feel like this was a team that was going to surprise? Did you not really know what to expect? What did Brody Dryden think?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was in the same boat as a lot of other people. You didn't know exactly what to expect going into the season because, the pieces were there. There's a lot of great talent and, people were leaning towards it. Okay, is it going to be, Cate Reese is the leading scorer? That's what it's turned out to be. So a lot of people were right there. I mean, Sam Thomas is, she gets praise every single day. Adia Barnes can in press conferences or during the radio show. By the way, the Adia Barnes radio show going on tonight at 6:00 out at
Who's going to be hosting?
Run. I'm going to be hosting. So it's going to be a great time out at Flores Market Run, 6th Street and Tucson Boulevard. It's where Rincon Market used to be. They renovated and all that stuff. It's always a great time. You can come out, ask Coach Barnes some questions from 6 to 7. Or if you can't, we're on 1400 KTUC and online. So sorry for that plug, Mike. But
no, absolutely. I want you to plug yourself. We need to get this out more.
Yeah, there you go. But it really is a great time. They've got a special menu for the Adia Barnes radio show. and stuff with it. We've actually got some good like audio quality. We plug into their speaker system in the
Very
restaurant,
cool.
and yeah, it's a great time. So come out and really every week and all the time. Adia Barnes is giving Sam Thomas all the credit that she deserves, just being a leader and an experienced forward on this team that's maybe not the highest scoring each and every night, even though she can be a lot of nights. It's what she does, in the locker room, on the bench, facilitating the ball defensively, that's really made her a great player. And the thing about this team, as opposed to last year, is any given night, anybody can go off. Lately, Shayna Pellington's been having a few great games. She had the buzzer beater against Vanderbilt in the Virgin Islands, which really gave her a lot of confidence. Cate Reese, night in, night out, has been doing really well. Araya Copeland has come in to have a lot of minutes, and now that Lauren Ware is dealing with her leg injury.
By the way, can you give the fans an update on that one? Just at least what occurred, because some people they reach out to me and I don't have any inside info on that, obviously.
Yeah, sure. So it was within the first 30 seconds of the game against North Dakota State this past Thursday. Lauren Ware was going for a rebound, and it was just kind of one of those off the ball. She buckled her knee, from what I saw, and hit the ground, and she just couldn't put any. It was a pretty scary looking injury, one of those where there wasn't much contact or anything, but she just couldn't put a lot of weight on it or anything. So she had to be helped off the court. But after the game, Coach Barnes came over and said that it should be maybe a couple weeks. She will miss a few games, but it was more of a dislocation that they had to pop back into place, and she's still going to have to go through some recovery and whatnot. But it was really scary. Like, we wouldn't maybe see Lauren Ware again this season, but it's kind of the best case scenario, seeing what we got. So she will be gone for a few games, won't be playing against Texas this weekend, but she should be back maybe early Pac-12 play.
Okay, yeah, so let's get to some of the comments. We got them coming in here. KB Thiel just said Cate Reese has taken a big jump this year, and that's the one that you look at and you really, she's kind of – there's been – obviously everybody's made a jump. Shayna Pellington's obviously stepped into a new role. Copeland obviously on the transfer market. But Cate Reese is really the one that I think when you go into games, you have to game plan for her, because she can easily drop 25 points on you there, Brody.
Yeah, she easily can, and we've already seen that early on this season. North Dakota State, New Mexico, really kind of crashing down low and trying to double team Cate Reese, and Cate's still been able to get around that in some degree, and she's got that great shot where she can just put it on the floor real quick, lean over off balance, and then just kiss it up off the glass into the bucket. But I think there's just been that opportunity for Cate Reese as well, because again, Ari McDonald, 20 points per game. Everyone knew the ball was going to her. She was the primary scorer, and she had the ball a lot. But now with the need for somebody to fill that space, Cate Reese has stepped up. I think the ability has been there in the past, but now she just has that opportunity to do it.
Oh, Sue Alexander says, any chance that if she shows up, there's an opportunity for some swag?
Yeah, no, there actually is. That's what I need to be plugging. Last week, Coach Barnes brought some of her personal collection of U of A swag to kind of give out to fans who could answer kind of trivia questions and whatnot during the commercial breaks. So that was a lot of fun. And last week we gave away a limited edition Final Four poster or Final Four program from last year, signed by Coach Barnes. Because we have people submit questions when they're there at Flora's. And if you submit a question, even if it's asked to Coach Barnes or not, then you're submitted for the giveaway. And we gave that away. So we'll have some more of that tonight and every week until the end of the season.
Sue, that is a resounding yes. Great question right there. It's I can probably answer this for you as well. It's carried on the radio, but it's not. She said not show up a call-in questions. Isn't that? That's not quite how it works, though. If I'm not mistaken. It is live at Flora's Market, so we're
trying to get as many people out there to floors as possible. So it is more of an in-person type thing rather than in the studio.
You know what else also has good swag? The DraftKings Sportsbook app. Code word PHNX. You throw down $1, you get $100 in free plays if either NFL team scores. It's that simple. By the way, I've gotten a lot of DraftKings swag, and it makes me look cooler than I normally am. I'll put it to you like that. I actually had somebody say they asked me where I got the shirt. I kid you not. This sounds like BS, Brody, but it's not. I was where was I? I was at Tucson Mall, and he asked me where I got the shirt, and I said, "Well, let me tell you about the DraftKings Sportsbook app, code word PHNX." I don't know if he actually went for it, but it made me feel good. The deal obviously is for Arizona only, 21 and up. Eligibility restrictions do apply. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. They'll get you all taken care of. But that's where you want to be. Check out the DraftKings Sportsbook app, code word PHNX. All right, Brody, you talked about it. We're going to get into recruiting here in just a second. But the Pac-12 is really it's the SEC, for, if you're to use a college football reference of the women's college basketball. And, does Adia ever talk about that, with her players, with you, just about how that's basically playing in a conference like that has really forced everybody to elevate their game very quickly?
Yeah, definitely. She gives a lot of credit to the Pac-12, other schools in the conference for, being the best there is in women's hoops. And I feel like there is that kind of conversation with the national media and the East Coast bias and stuff that still is reflected against the Pac-12, even though they are the resounding, best conference in women's hoops. So there is some layover because some of these writers or just whatever are kind of used to the kind of college football or SEC or East Coast favoritism there, which is unfortunate. But she's really been a champion of the conference, and she'll remind everybody of that and how good that each school is. UCLA continuing to be on the rise there. Stanford is the powerhouse. That is one thing. Stanford has lost 2 games and they're still number 3 in the nation.
Right.
So
right. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, there's still a lot of respect there for a lot of teams around the conference, and then in the lower half, Colorado's been bouncing around there, Oregon State as well. So there's certainly some respect there, and Coach Barnes doesn't let you forget that.
All right, now let me ask you this. So let's talk a little bit of recruiting, and this really goes to show you too just the impact that Adia Barnes has had on the women's basketball scene here. I've been a recruiting buff since I was, back when American Online was a thing. You weren't alive then, but, you could get onto things like Hoop Scoop Online. It was like one of the 2 recruiting services, and it was just, it was awesome stuff. So what I never really looked, and, because Arizona women's basketball just wasn't that good. You had some stretches. Obviously, Adia Barnes senior season, they were very good. You had, see her. You had Adia Barnes, obviously very, very good. You had the Chantanese Polk team, but other than that, not a lot of success. What Adia Barnes has done now has me looking on the ESPN rankings, Brody, to see what the best high school women's basketball players are and where they've, where they're coming from. And Arizona just got a commitment yesterday from another 5-star kid.
Yeah, they did. And it's funny hearing Sam Thomas actually talk in a press conference earlier this year that when she came, she was the highest ranked recruit to come to Arizona. She was the first, I think, like ESPN top 100 player to come to Tucson. And then ever since then, it's just kind of snowballed into what it is now. And it's crazy how it can start with a player like Sam Thomas, and Coach Barnes would agree. She just really hit the jackpot there to be an ambassador for the program and elevate things and bring in all these next classes. So yeah, 5-star point guard Paris Clark coming to the U of A, committed yesterday. She's out in New York. She looks great, and the point guard position is going to be open because Shayna Pellington is a senior, and so she'll be out of here after this season, and that's going to be a big question mark. That was a big question mark. Is where is Arizona going to continue? There had been some commitments to some other schools from some of the top ranked point guards, but definitely a huge get there for the Wildcats. She's got a lot of talent. She knows how to score. She'll still be a freshman at point guard, so there will be a learning curve, especially in the Pac-12. But some fun days ahead here for the Wildcats.
All right, now KB Thiel just says, and this is why we got the big dog Brody in here to break things down that a lot of people don't necessarily see. And by big dog, I mean big dog, 6'7". Brody, are you really 6'8"? Don't lie to me.
With shoes on, I'm probably at least 6'8", and I was thinking I may have grown lately. I wasn't fitting like in my car as comfortably as I
Are you still in that little truck?
Yeah.
Brody, you're big time now, man. You got to get something bigger than that.
I know. I mean, the reason I got that truck was because that was the one that I could actually fit in. But I don't know. It felt a little. And talk about big dog. By the way, today I'm wearing my big dog.
You're wearing your big dog shirt.
Yeah,
dude.
my big dog sweatshirt. So I had to rep. But
right.
Yeah. Wait. What was the question?
Oh, sorry. My bad.
Yeah.
He says, "I'm curious. I've been very impressed." My bad. I'm curious. I've been very impressed with their bench play. Do we expect the rotation to slim down a little bit, or do we still expect this team to go 9 or so deep later into the year?
Yeah, I think that it's reasonable. It's hard because since the beginning, we've seen every single player on this team is able to play at a high level. We saw especially against the Louisville game early on in the season, as opposed to the previous exhibitions and whatnot. I think it was only an 8-player rotation, but it's hard because there's so much talent on this team. We saw Maddie Connor come off the bench against New Mexico on Sunday. She scored a career high 15 points on 5 3-pointers. Arizona was just shooting lights out from three. So, strategy wise, I'm sure, especially against Texas, you got to slim down the rotation a little bit. But I think they're still trying to figure things out, and it's kind of good they have this game against NAU, which is a solid team, not one to overlook, but still one to kind of work out the kinks and figure out how the lineups are going to operate, how the bench is going to operate, especially without Lauren Ware. So they have options to do so. I would expect a little bit less off the bench than we're used to in the Texas game this Sunday, though.
All right, so we got a couple more questions coming in right now. KB Thiel again coming with the heat. Then Lockerbie Sports Network has hopped in on here as well. So he says, which players in this class do you think will have an immediate impact? We have a lot of depth and players developing on the bench. I'm going to say one person that's going to have an immediate impact, and that is Maya Najee, top 5, top 7 player out of Minnesota, related to Zeke Najee. Post. Brody, go from there.
Yeah, I think Maya Najee, I agree with that. And then Paris Clark that we just saw come in for the commitment yesterday. She's going to be a really good player. She's got a lot of confidence. Again, a New York kid, which I feel like we're more used to seeing East Coast products coming out of the old like U of A men's basketball days, and you just know the kind of New York mentality lives up to what you think it is, and they're always exciting, tough players to watch. So look at them too. Kalyn Gilbert is up there. She's number 30 or so in the ESPN class, and so there's a lot of potential to make impact immediately from the class coming in. But at the same time, Arizona will be returning some players. It's been said that Cate Reese is going to come back for her super senior year next year, and Coy Love, who's the transfer from Vanderbilt, she hasn't quite erupted for her, big game quite yet this year. But I think, a year in the system and then coming back next year probably starting. She'll be somebody to look out for. So it'll be a nice blend of experience and the newbies coming into the program.
All right, Lockerbie Sports Network says you guys are going to be a women's basketball powerhouse for the next decade. Reminds me of the UConn men's program of the early 2000s. I'll go a step further. I'll say the UConn women's program of the early 90s onwards. And you know what? Brody Dryden's going to have a front row seat to that, which is why we like having him on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Now, Brody, let me ask you this. You're a lot like, over on the your counterpart, Brian Jeffries, over on the men's side. I can generally ask him about anything, related to the conference because, when you're in the industry you two are in, it always helps to know a little bit about what, the teams you're going to be facing. And let me just ask you this. Can Arizona win the Pac-12 conference this year in something that's so deep? How would you peg that out?
Oh yeah, I would say without a doubt.
You should have said, Brody, from now on, if I say something stupid, I want you to say this, Mike. That's a stupid question, of course.
Mike, that is a stupid question, of course. They could definitely win it all. I mean, the key is going to be just like for any team looking to win a conference, a championship, you got to stay healthy. And so that's going to be a challenge for Arizona this year. Lauren Ware, obviously they got lucky there, and she'll be back soon. And hopefully she stays healthy throughout the year. But that's going to be a big key for this team. And then the Pac-12 is the toughest conference in women's hoops. So Stanford is always going to be there, just like they were last year. They've already run into a couple issues. Texas, who Arizona is going to be facing on Sunday, beat Stanford early on this year. So they're pretty solid. That's going to be some good film for them to watch in preparing for Sunday's game. UCLA is always a threat. Oregon State, Colorado. There's just good teams up and down. And, the upset watch has been there in the non-conference play because a lot of other really good teams have been taken down by unranked opponents. But in the Pac-12, that's even more so, just because the level of competition, level of intensity is just a little bit higher than it was. But I'm excited, because I've obviously only called games here this season that have been non-conference. We're headed to LA over New Year's. It's USC on New Year's Eve for a pretty late night matchup, and then UCLA in Poly Pavilion on January 2nd. So that's where it all begins. It's really anybody's championship at Arizona's without question. I think in position to make a run at it.
All right. The great thing, DraftKings Sportsbook app, again, code word PHNX, throw down $1 on an NFL game for new customers. Either team scores, which they will, you get $100 in free plays. What's also fun about the DraftKings Sportsbook app? You can bet on all kinds of college. You can bet on any kind of NBA, NFL, all kinds of stuff. The big dog right in there is a Toronto Raptors fan. And you actually called them winning the championship when you and I were working together. Too bad you weren't on the DraftKings Sportsbook app at that point, Brody. You could have made a lot of money off that one.
I could have cashed out big time on my Raptors. Now, I'm for the record, would not be advising anything for the Raptors this year. They're not looking as good. So
no, if you're going to put in code word PHNX, you're going to go against the Raptors on that one.
Yes.
Now, before I let you go, though, just over, what's really fun about this? We always talk about backing the A, which what is a way of life in these parts. But it really is, joking aside, to have a top 5 women's basketball program and a top 10 men's program that could easily get into the top 5. This is uncharted waters we're in here, and you're on the front lines of that, big dog. That's got to be pretty exciting.
Oh yeah, no, this is an amazing time for the U of A. It's a great time in McHale. The energy's up. We had, I think, well over 8,000 fans at the last game for a non-conference game around the holidays, and it was the last game of the calendar year before Christmas, and it was just a great atmosphere for the Arizona against New Mexico game, and then that was the day after watching the men beat Illinois in Champaign. And it's just a great mood overall. So it's been a pleasure to be a part of, and hopefully things continue this way all season long. So,
all right. Where can you, before we sign off here, Brody, You're a modest guy. I keep having to try to plug you for you because you're a modest. Where can they find Brody on social media? Where can they find you tonight? Where can they find you on the radio?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Coyote Brody. If you want to listen to the Adia Barnes radio show, we're going to be on the air at 6 at Flores Market Run, actually about 6:03 at Flores Market Run out on 6th Street and Tucson Boulevard. And if you want to make it out, you can. Please do. They've got great food, great drinks, great chai tea lattes at Flores Market. If you want to try it, Old Rincon Market. That's where the location is. It's a really great time, and then we'll be on the air on the radio for all of the U of A women's basketball games going forward. We're going to be in Flagstaff at 4:00 on Friday against NAU, and then 3:30 Tucson time is the tip-off when Arizona takes on Texas this Sunday. So make sure to turn on your radios. If you're watching online or on TV, with all due respect to the commentators there, mute your TVs or your computers and flip on the radio if you want to hear me commentate, because it's a great time, and we try to give you the best product possible on the radio. So there you go.
You do that. For Brody, Dryden, I am Mike Luke. We will be back with you on the post game right after Arizona basketball tomorrow night. Brody, as always, thanks again, buddy, and we'll talk to you next week. Well, I'll be texting you before then, but
sounds good. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks again. You're listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.